Social Services, and today we're going to have Ramona Arthur, who's the Director of Volunteer Services for the Western Division. I'm glad you all could make it. If you could just go over who you are, and so we're going to take attendance, and then we'll get started. I got Carrie, I got Major Dale, I got Joan, I have Lieutenant Zumo. Is there anybody I missed?
Yeah, Sharka.
Sharka, are you still there?
Sharka?
Yes.
Okay.
I just want to make sure you were still there.
I'm getting no video though.
What is she getting?
She's getting no video.
Okay, we'll get our IT person. Joan just walked out. Yeah. You know, you start playing with this, and then have it. Oh, there she's back. Okay. We're going to work on your video just a second, Sharka, and then we're going to get started.
Thank you.
Oh, Kelly's here.
Lieutenant Zumwalt, can you see and hear us?
Yep.
Okay.
I can.
Okay.
We see another number just logged in. Can you tell us who you are?
Renee Kirschman in Fremont.
Hi, Renee.
Hi,
Hello.
Renee. Down with you here.
Is there a way? I don't have a webcam, so you can.
So we can't see you, but can you see and hear us? Somebody needs to turn their sound down.
Pardon?
Renee, Kirschman, and Fremont too.
Okay, and Sharka?
Yes.
Okay, can you give Mark Best, can you call Mark Best at the IT desk, and he's going to help you remotely?
Yep, thank you. I
You
will.
bet.
We're getting a lot of feedback on our end, so somebody needs to mute their sound, or at least turn it down.
Kelly,
Renee Kirschman and Kevin Robbins. Captain Robbins, do you have speakers on?
I'm looking. Can you hear me?
Came up. I can hear you, but we heard the feedback when you logged in. Oh, there you go. Whatever you did worked.
It says it's off. Let me
just mute it. Yeah.
There you go. That's good.
There you go. Perfect.
You'll have to run one more time, and we'll have it videoed so she can go back and watch the beginning.
No, if we mute ours.
Mine is muted. About 308, somebody else just joined in.
Your turn. Open this tab.
I'm ready.
Okay, we're going to start now. So again, welcome, like I said, and we have Ramona Arthur, who is the Director of Volunteer Services. This is our third Divisional Social Services webinar. Welcome. Okay.
Good morning. I'm going to talk to you guys all this morning about Better Impact. It's the mandated software for volunteers. Some corps use it for Christmas and some do not. But it's a good I'll give a good overview of what you do just generally, and then we'll talk about Christmas a little bit.
Ramona, do you want to ask them to mute?
If you have your computer not muted, we need you to mute it so that we don't get feedback. And if you can't hear us, let me know.
If I mute you on my computer, then I can't hear you.
You can't hear me if you mute. Okay.
I am listening to this. It's about volunteers.
There should be a way you can turn off your mic, and that's what we actually need you to mute, is your microphone.
probably should have looked at it.
Lieutenant Zumwalt, I cannot hear you. Are you trying to ask a question?
What about Christmas?
I was making sure you couldn't hear me.
Now I can hear you.
Oh.
So what you're viewing on the screen is the main screen for Better Impact. Your core page may look a little differently, but this is the one for Omaha DHQ. If you've never seen this before, call me later and we'll talk about it.
Do you want to make it full screen?
Yeah. We're going to make it full screen just to make it easier for me to see. So if you have a question, you'll have to...
What page do you want us to be on? Just a Better Impact?
You can be on your main Better Impact screen, Renee.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Call me when you're done, Ramona, because I've never seen this.
You've never seen this before?
No, sir. No, ma'am.
Because your wife does the volunteers?
Yes.
Okay. Well, the main thing you would do is if you're going to add a volunteer is you would just go to people and add a volunteer. But we're not going to talk about adding a volunteer today. We're going to talk about activities that we use for Christmas primarily. So I know of a couple of core who use this for Christmas and several who do not. But Christmas would be a scheduled activity, so you'd have to go to activities, and then you'd have to create the bell ringing activity under manage activities. In Omaha, we already have bell ringing right here under bell ringing department, so we've created a category for bell ringer. However, if you notice on the bottom empty and red kettles, it has a date of 2011, which was the last time we actually used this system in Omaha for red kettles. But if you choose to use it, you would first have to create a category called bell ringing or red kettles or Christmas or whatever you want to call it. And you just click the new category button and it gives you a category and you type in whatever you want it to be. I'm just going to create one so that you can see how it looks. And I'm going to call mine test so that you're not confused later if you see it, those in Omaha who have access to this. And then you save, and the little Christmas test category comes up, and it will be a bold category. So I'm going to go to the next page where we can see it. And because I didn't do it correctly, it didn't show up right. So that may be your what happens to you. If you see right here, it says Christmas test in my category list. And from that, I want to create an activity under my category. And I'm going to call my category or my activity bell ringing. However, it may be easier to do your locations. So instead of putting bell ringing, I'm going to put a location that we use here in Omaha for bell ringing because it'll be easier to shift. If you have less than 20 kettle locations, I think this is an easy way to do Christmas kettles. If you have more, I'd say you need to give me a call because it's going to take some time to set this up. You don't have to put the report group, but it helps you statistically if you use the report group. And it's always other volunteer activity, which is 4130. If you want groups to sign up for bell ringing, which you probably do, you can click this little box. And you want it to be active, and you want volunteers to be able to log their own hours, and they really won't except when they sign up for shift. You notice at the bottom right, we can't save yet, and that's because we have no schedule for this activity, so we have to go to the next tab. You cannot use the tab button on your computer. You have to actually use the arrows and the enter key. In Omaha, we have a template for bell ringing, which means we've already set up Monday through Saturday bell ringing shifts. And so I can use that to add shifts. If you do not have a template or need to know how, call me or email me. But Otherwise, we'd have to add all of these shifts individually to create the template. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then each 2-hour time slot that you would probably use. So we have our shifts in. Then we want to tell the system if we want people to see it and when we want them to see it. Currently, it says that people who are accepted volunteers can see this, which means if I'm just a community person who doesn't volunteer all the time, I can't see this. So this is an activity we want to make public. So you just click the little public button and it makes it public, and I'll show you where people will see that. And then you want to put more than one volunteer as your maximum, because if a group signs up, you'll want more than one. So I usually put 20, even though you won't have 20 people at a Kettle site, just so it gives a large number for people to sign up. If you have questions, just stop me at any time. There are no qualifications to be a bell ringer, and you don't have to do feedback or classification, so we'll save. Now you see my Christmas test at Hy-Vee 90th and Center that says it's scheduled from today to next month, but that's okay because we want to be able to see it. If I put an October or November date for scheduled, we wouldn't be able to see it.
And this is for all volunteers?
All volunteers.
So if it's short term or for a long
Right.
term one?
All volunteers should be in the system. Right now we're talking just about Christmas.
Okay.
This is where, if you go to myvolunteerpage.com, that's where a volunteer would see what you have. Everybody's in the division looks like this page to begin with, what you're looking at now. At the very bottom, where it says keyword, the volunteer would have to type in either your town or the Salvation Army's name. Because we have multiple in Omaha, I'm just going to use Omaha. And then a little pop-up comes up and it tells me these are all the places in Omaha area that we're using this software. And that Christmas test is under DHQ, so I'll click that one. And you now see that under Christmas test, there's Hy-Vee 90th and Center activity. And these activities are listed alphabetically. So you see on my page, I have Christmas test, and then you can see some development department, and then the disaster team, mass, older adult services. All the volunteer activities that we have now are listed on this page. This page is the public page. The first page that I was on was an administrative page. So a volunteer who decides that they want to sign up for bell ringing would click this little Hy-Vee 90th and Center, and they would choose their shift on this page. So you see that the next 10 shifts are there. So we're just going to choose Wednesday, August 23rd, and actually, I'm sorry, that's the summary. We can't choose from that page. It shows 10 shifts at a time. If I want to volunteer for the shift, I have to fill in an application if I'm not a current volunteer, or I have to log into my account. So I'm a current volunteer, so I can log into my account, and I would type in my information, which unfortunately my password, I don't know if I know off the top of my head, but we'll try here. See, my password is incorrect. So I'll log in as another volunteer who I know. It's actually my daughter, so. And passwords are case sensitive. So this is my daughter who I'm logging in as right now, and it says that she wants to volunteer at 90th and Center Hy-Vee. And then you can choose the shift that you want. So let's say she chooses Thursday from 4 to 6. We just click sign up, and it says her schedule is confirmed. And if she signed up for multiple shifts, it would confirm all of them and turn them green. Now if I go back to our admin page and I type in a report for my activities, I'm sorry, that's not what I want to do. I'm sorry. If we go back to our Christmas test, to our Hy-Vee location, I don't use this all the time. if I view our activity, the system kicked me out because I tried to log in as myself on the other page, so hold on one second. That's not my password. They don't see all of this. They only see their page. I see the whole page. So if I go back to our activities and I look at that Christmas test, at Hy-Vee, 90th and Center, which is what I used. This is just the basic info about it at the first tab, and then the schedule tells me how many shifts are available.
Who's the captain going to be in?
Not here. I'm on a webinar. He's on vacation. He's not here. He's on vacation.
Oh, yeah, I talked to you.
I'm having a little glitch with my system this morning. It's not showing me an individual volunteer, which may be an easier way for me to show you. Oh, here we go. So here's Allison, who I put in, and these are all the activities that she's available to sign up for. But if I go to her schedule, her hours, she doesn't have any, but somehow her bell ringing should show up. I don't use this all the time for bell ringing. Well, I don't use it at all in Omaha because we don't use this system, but Kay Weinstein can help as well. So if I look at Allison now at Hy-Vee 90th Center, it says that she's qualified, which is the Q, signed up, which is the SU, and AS is assigned. So it tells me that she's assigned for a shift. And if I click on her, it tells me what shift she's signed up for is the one that is checked, the 4 to 6 p.m. on Thursday, August 24th. There is a way to run a report so you don't have to go to individual volunteers. And I will send the directions for the report to you because it will take too long to walk you through the report right now. Anybody have any questions? Did we lose everybody?
I have a question.
Go ahead. Switch to so we can see them.
Okay, so for Omaha last year we used what was it? Bellringer.org.
Register to Ring is what Omaha uses.
Okay.
And is what they will continue to use in Omaha. Joan.
Okay, so I at the Kroc Center will not need to go in and set up schedules for our locations.
Correct. So, Joan, Omaha uses what you're seeing now on the screen.
Yeah.
That's what Omaha uses. You won't have to set up those shifts. They're done here at DHQ.
Okay.
And this is last year's because we're not public yet on this site. So what you're seeing is last year's.
Okay, thank you.
But if you needed to set up an activity for anything, a scheduled activity, you would do it the same way I just did the bell ringers. So if you had for Toyland, say, to set up, you could set them up as shifts like we just did for. However, in Omaha, it's a little different. Because we do a lot of that here at DHQ.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
Wow, I'm really echoing. Sorry.
Renee, I can hear you. Go ahead.
For our bell ring or our kettles, captain
Yes.
says that we use volunteer first because we have like a signed contract with them.
Do you know when your contract ends, Renee?
I have no idea. And he is in Ecuador.
I know he is, yeah, I know.
But I know he stated that, you know, that was his concern. Wow, sorry.
So in Fremont, Renee, you use something that looks like this. Which is a company called Volunteer First, also ringbells.org. It's not to be used by the Salvation Army any longer. However, as long as you're still in the contract, the Army will allow you to use it, but after the contract expires, you will not be allowed to re-sign the contract.
Okay, thank you.
I am familiar with the system, but you'll have to call me separately so that I can walk you through it.
Sounds good,
because I
thank
believe
you.
Fremont is the only corps in the division that uses it.
Okay.
All right, Watertown has a question.
Watertown has a question, okay?
Okay, so we have a lot of groups. Is there a way to add a group and not a single person? Such as Boy Scouts or cops?
When you add a group, I'm going to log out as my daughter so that we can see the main page again. So we're going to, in order to help you see, Lieutenant, we're going to create a new group.
Okay.
So we're going to go here to Hy-Vee 90th and Center, and we're going to fill in an application, and we're going to create this group. So they can create their own username and use their email. No, I better use my Army so I can get it right away. It may not let me do this, so if I can't, I will use my personal email. See, it tells us that it's already associated with an account in the system. So it gives us, might have to look its full name. And then we have said in Omaha that they have to agree with the policies, and you should have that too. So now that I'm new, actually I can't take test group, it's telling me that's already used. So I'm logging in as a test group, and it's going to ask me to fill out an application. So it asked me to create a password and all the things I would do if I was a regular volunteer logging into the system. And passwords are case sensitive. So if you enter it capital or lowercase, it has to be that way when you do that later. Anything with a flag, for those of you who've not seen this before, must be filled in. So any field with a flag must have something in it. And anything that doesn't have a flag, you don't have to fill in. We've got our default here to birth date, to put in a birth date. I'm actually putting my real birth date in. Because we want to know if, especially for bell ringers, we want to make sure that they're over 16 years old if they're ringing on their own. And if they're in a group, we let them ring in a group without supervision at 16, but not younger. So, and we're set with this this CAPTCHA thing, which I don't like, but a lot of places have gone to this now, where I'm clicking stuff that I don't even know is right, so.
Street sign. Yeah.
Okay, this is the last
Basically,
one.
that's our
Actually, it isn't that one, it's just a little tiny bit of it. You shouldn't have to do it this many times.
Usually you just do it once.
Oh, that's
It's the CAPTCHA to make sure I'm not a robot.
That's because yeah.
Bottom.
Are you kidding me?
yeah, they have to do that.
We got that one right. That top one has that, yep.
What about San Antonio?
Yeah, and then that underneath it's gonna have some too. And the one next to it.
All right, let's hope that's the last one.
It's just those 4 right there. Those 6.
They did this
The
with
bottom one does too.
Oh yeah.
Craigslist is like this. Are you kidding me?
A little tiny piece of it in that one and a that one.
That's why she gotta keep on.
Finally.
Oh.
Okay, now it knows I'm not a robot.
We all know that.
And then at the bottom, save and continue. Please enter. Oh. It asks for a phone number, which is a good thing because we want to make sure that we can contact the volunteer at a later date. So at least one phone number, even though they're not flagged.
That work?
That's my direct extension. So then we'll save and continue. This is a brand new volunteer, so they're filling out the application form is what they're doing. This is the same questions that are on the paper application that we use. We have to fill out all the things that are flagged. And until we do that, it's not going to let us, but I'll show you another corps that has a group already in, Lieutenant. And the page went crazy on me, so give me 1 second. Yes.
You preach something like I know that face.
Why is it not taking me to that? Lieutenant, I'll call you after we're done because it's not doing it the way that it needs to do it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Most of our activities, you notice here, are unscheduled, so they're real easy to put in. It's the scheduled and the seasonal ones that are more difficult. Putting in groups is a little more difficult because usually one person logs in as like the group representative and then they put in everybody for the group, and so they say there's going to be 6 of us or there's going to be 10 of us or whatever. which makes it a little more difficult. You can see here on these back to school ones that we had scheduled, and so we did put in volunteers that were scheduled, but some of them that were a group, it just said one group with 10 volunteers. The same with the Christmas signups here in Omaha, because we went to a different software. Is anybody that's on the call currently using this for Christmas? I'm guessing not. There are other options for Christmas, I will tell you. This software, Register to Ring, it is expensive, but is a little more user-friendly. It is allowed by THQ. However, if you use it at Christmas, you have to transfer all the data at the end of Christmas into Better Impact so the volunteers are captured for the rest of the year. Those of you in Omaha, this is done by DHQ. We transfer that information. Because you want to be able to use the other features in Better Impact throughout the year, where you can email volunteers to tell them that you have other activities that are coming up or things that they could sign up for other than Christmas. And that's why THQ mandates that we transfer the data from one software to the other. Carrie, are you using this in Ames? I don't think she can hear me. Can everybody still hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. The other thing that you can do is you'll be able to run a report. Oh, Carrie's IMing me. I can hear you. Oh, okay, got it. You can run a report each day of the schedule. So you can run a single activity by the month. And I'll just show you this was our back to school here in Omaha. Can you make the screen big so they can see it a little easier? So this was here in Omaha. This tells us on Wednesday, August 2nd, we had these volunteers from 9 to 12 and then from 1 to 4, and the same on Thursday and Friday. So you can get a calendar for each day and what volunteers you have. And
That's really cool.
The little parenthesis next to the name on some of the names is how many volunteers were in their group. So you can see on the 7th of August, there's a group that has a 2, and then from 1 to 4, there's a group that has a 10, which means that group, that was the lead person in the group, and then there were 10 people in that group. And so that makes it real easy to see how many volunteers you have. If you do it monthly, you can also do a report by day. So you could just do the report by day. So you can do a schedule report by date. And then you choose the date that you want. Or if you want it by time, you can also do that. So it starts at the beginning of the day. And then you choose, I'm just going to do our distribution at the Kroc Center. And since we did it before, we're going to go back. And we can view the report, and you have to print it. And it tells me that we didn't have any volunteers distributing at the Kroc because the dates are wrong. They're dated starting today. And we did our distribution before today. So I'm going to do dates before today and change. And now we'll view the report. And this tells me, because I went back to 2002, all the volunteers who've ever helped us on Friday Actually, this is Friday, 8/11 only. It came up correctly. These are all the volunteers that helped us and what times they helped us. And it also has phone numbers so that we could contact them to remind them of their volunteer shift, either the day before or the morning of if they volunteered in the afternoon. It also has 8/12, which was a Saturday distribution. So all these volunteers are registered in the system, and we also know if they're groups, like this one says Great Adventures Ministry, Sarah's the lead, but there were 8 volunteers. If there's not a phone number in the system, the phone number does not show. And the only way there can't be a phone number in the system is if it's entered administratively. If the volunteer enters it themselves, they have to put their phone number. If we enter it on our end or at your end, you do not have to put a phone number. So one of the great features of this, using it, is that you can run your reports that you need for this activity. And then there's also a way to actually export the report, the schedule. And you can export it so that you could print it. You can either, and it gives you actually a detailed report, or it can give you a summary report. And actually, I'm going to use, again, back to school because it's already in there. And it's going to export my scheduled data. There we go. And it will ask you always if you want to open it or save it. I always open it first to make sure it's what I need before I save it. And then you can also save it under the name that you choose to save it under, rather than what Better Impact decides that it should be named. And so this tells me that all these people were entered administratively. That's what this gave me. Every because I didn't designate it, this gave me every activity. So this is administrative activities, board meetings, everything that was in the system. So I didn't say I just wanted back to school. And so I'll have to page through pages and pages because I didn't do it correctly. But you can designate which in the reports what you want. So I did not filter the category. You want to filter the category because it will make it easier. So back to school, same report, just with only back to school. And it gives me an error message because it names it the same name. So there we go. And then there's our report for who was scheduled, what time they were scheduled, what date they were scheduled, and how many volunteers we needed, minimum, maximum, and then actually who was scheduled. So, so this is the contact information for who was scheduled, including email addresses, and tells us when they were scheduled and what they were scheduled for. So backpack assembly is our first one for back to school, and then distribution at the Croc Center at Omaha North. Continued distribution, unloading trucks we had. So all the scheduled data that you need, and you can, if you're familiar with Excel, you can delete the columns that you don't need, so you just have what you do need. If you enter volunteers yourself without them going through that My Volunteer page and you add them here, you'll still have to put in the data that was required on the other page. So you'll still have to put in the data that was required on this page. You just can put it in a little easier because it looks differently. So if you add a volunteer here, it's the same information, it's just all on one page. Whereas on the other system, you have to go through several pages. And then if you want the system to choose the username and password, you just click this box and it will create your usernames and passwords, and you don't have to do that. Other questions for me?
I have a question.
We have 3 questions.
Well, we have a lot, but this is coming from a registered ring lover. So, first question, we don't even know how to log in, but you can explain that later. The second one is,
wait, hold on. I didn't hear your first question.
Oh, our first question is we don't know how to log in. Like Lieutenant Zach and I do not have login information.
You may not have, you may not be in there for Watertown. We may have to add you.
Okay.
Hold on, let me switch to Watertown and let's see if you're actually in there. So you can't see what I'm seeing now. This is the whole division. When you get in, you should be able to see this. We may have to actually put you in.
Okay.
No, see, you're not in there. We're going to have to add you. See, any combination I use, you're not in there. So we'll have to add you as a volunteer.
Okay.
So we'll do that from here, add Watertown. So I'll get in touch with you guys so we can add you as administrators, because you can't do anything until you're in the system.
Right, that would make sense.
Okay. Second question.
Another question, I know that's volunteers, but if we're using this for this, are we able to put a paid bell ringer in there for scheduling, or is there not a way to differentiate that?
Unfortunately, you cannot put a paid bell ringer in. There's no way to designate them as a paid bell ringer because the system is designed for volunteers.
Okay.
Wait, there is one way to do it. There is one way to do it without putting their actual name. You could make a category called paid bell ringers. And it would, so I'll show you. I don't know, we're getting feedback again. I'm not sure who it's coming from, but I'll just show you on this. Let's use somebody. Omaha's is too many. Let's go to a different corps. One corps uses what they call one-time volunteer. So they put a person who they know is only going to volunteer one time in that category. So they don't have to have a name, which is fine if that person is truly an episodic volunteer and assigned. So you see it right here, 1X volunteer hours for. And so that's how they enter bell ringers who volunteer for one shift. This happens to be Aberdeen Corps. They also use the 4-H club, and then they also document minors, and that's what the ADOC minor hours for is. So when they do their bell ring, because they do use this for bell ringing, they enter people who volunteer for one shift administratively. They don't let them log in on the public site. So they only capture their hours, they don't capture their names to get them later on the system. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Okay. And then I'll show you, before you ask the third question, hold on, I'll just show you. So this hours for one-time volunteer, if we look at the hours that they've logged over the years, you can see that this person, it's actually more than one person, they've helped in multiple events at the Corps. So the food warehouse, meal share. So these people who volunteer just one time have done multiple things at the Corps, and that's how they track them rather than entering the person's name for showing up one time. So you can see that they've been in the thrift store, they've helped with cleanup, they've delivered food boxes, they've done lots of things. So, okay, and there was a third question?
Yes. Is there a way for us to what? Is there a way for us to like block kettle sites, so if we don't want someone to ring at high beat, for instance, do we just block that, or do we just not add it in? How do we do that?
I'm losing you, Lieutenant. Can you say it again?
If we want to block a site for like a specific group or for a day? Say we don't want someone to
For a specific group.
Okay, if you want to block a site, I got it. I can hear you now. Okay, so if you want to block a site so that somebody else can't log in, I can't show you in Aberdeen what I did in Omaha, so give me a minute to switch back to Omaha. So on that Christmas test that I did, that activity that I made that was called Christmas test, now we only put one location in that, but if we wanted to block a day or hours on that, we can certainly do that. You just go to the activity, and in the schedule, on the shifts that you do not want to be public, you will, now it's going to sound weird, but you actually have to delete them, and then you have to re-enter them with a different name. So you can't just make them inactive because they become public once you put them in here. So if you know in advance that you're going to have somebody that's going to ring all day on a certain day, you can create a second shift. What we do here sometimes is we would put like Hy-Vee 90th Center and a 2 by it, so we know that it's difficult to do it that way, but it can be done. The other way to do it is in this little book that's at the bottom of your, this little book. Volunteer Impact can help you do that. Under I gotta remember which one it's under. The Scheduling Volunteers tab, this one here. It helps you schedule multiple volunteers like a group, and it also can help you schedule from a calendar grid, which you can schedule without deleting those shifts. So if we schedule volunteers from the calendar grid, it helps us, we have to put them in. So you see the grid, and the red shows you what's available, and the orange shows you how many people signed up, and the green is assigned. So we can assign from that. I haven't used that very often because we don't use this for Christmas, but I can play with it and show you how to do it if you need me to. So this shows you like a guest services booth. So it tells you that they need all these things, and this is how they're scheduled. So that gives you an overview of how to do it, but if you need me to help, I'm certainly willing to do that. The one good thing about Better Impact is that their help book, which is this little book that I just showed you, is very useful. They thought it through, and they can give you a lot of great information. The other thing that can be helpful is this little chat guy right here. I call him Tony because I always get Tony, but if you click it, you can have a conversation with Better Impact, and they can help you do it very quickly. This is just a really quick overview of how to do it. I'm willing to come to your core or speak to you individually if that's necessary. Anybody else out there have questions?
I have a question, Sharka for Dutch.
Okay, Sharka.
Will this webinar be posted, let's say, on YouTube or somewhere? The Hamlins are on vacation, and with me only getting the audio, I'm getting only about half of what's being taught out of the webinar.
Sharka, we are recording it, and we will make it available.
I'll send out a link as soon as mine's available and put it on the YouTube channel.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Any other questions out there?
Ramona, this is Joan. I have a question. When we get a volunteer that registers through Better Impact, does the system automatically generate the application to them, or do I have to manually do that in the system?
No, if they sign up online, Joan, through the My Volunteer page, so if they come here and they sign up, they automatically fill out the application. And I'm actually going to go to the Crocs so you can see what's on the Crocs. So if I say I want to be a Spanish translator for the Croc, and I click this little link here, and I fill in the application, it does it. You don't have to send them a paper application. What will happen is they will show up on your page, which again, you won't see all this stuff because you only see your page. They will show up as an applicant, which is right here. And if you click the applicant, it tells you what day they actually signed up as an applicant. So you have some that have been on there that we might have to clean up. And then if you actually click into the volunteer, so we're going to go to edit this volunteer, and we go to assign, it tells us what they signed up for. I tabbed instead of so this tells me that this person just signed up generally because the SU is not marked in any of them, but they're qualified to do all the things that are checked. But because this person is an applicant, that means they haven't done all the checks, which means the part they probably didn't get is the background check, which doesn't generate automatically. There's a glitch in the system. See, we haven't even reviewed their application here. All their stuff is still, but they filled it in, all the things that were flagged that they needed to fill in. And so we just need to send them a link for the background check, which has to come from me. It has to come from me. This is what I recommend. Your system should be set up, everybody's system should be set up in this organization setting when a volunteer signs up online, that they get an automatic email that says something like, thank you for volunteering, someone will follow up with you, or something like that. It should be in your general settings. It should tell people that they're getting, and it doesn't look like Crocs is set up with the email that comes when someone signs up, so we may have to correct that, Joan. The email should give them the information on who to contact after they sign up. And actually, that may not have been where it is. Hold on, let me just make sure. No, I'm sure it's there. I just did this for another core. I set it up for them so that it automatically emailed to the volunteer once they signed up online. So it does tell me what application they get, and if you can see, we have more than one application. Oh, right here, new volunteer email message. Yeah, yours isn't set up. So what we want to do is automatically send an email to new volunteers after they fill out an application. And I can help you set that up, Joan, so that they know who to contact if they don't hear in 10 days, 14 days, whatever limit you want to set. They don't hear from someone at the Croc. And we can include the background check link if you want us to do that. So I'll give you a call, Joan, and we can do that.
The motions will be in the lunchroom this morning at 10 a.m. The motions will be in the lunchroom this morning at 10 a.m.
Yeah, I will contact you afterwards, Ramona, because I do have a few more questions. Probably would be better to address after this webinar.
Okay. What I may do to help all the rest of you is in the enterprise account, which is the account that covers the entire division here, which none of you have access to. I may set that configuration up so that it automatically does that, sends that email. and then we'll customize each of yours for your core setting. So I'll set this so it automatically sends an email, and then we'll customize that email. I'll work individually with you to customize that email, who you want as the contact state person, who you want, how many days you want them to wait before somebody gets back to them, etc. And I will set that up in the enterprise account. One more thing in the enterprise account that may help all of you that has to do with just general volunteers. I'm just clicking one of these core that's at the beginning. In the activities, there's a way that if you have local officers at your core that you don't have to design and create all those job descriptions, because we've taken the time here at DHQ to create templates for all of those. So in the Manage Activities tab, you can use a template. And if you see, we've put in advisory board member, character building program people, core council member, people who are part of the core ministry, and these all came from THQ, all these titles, local officer titles. Youth personnel at the core, ministry in social services, like a food pantry worker or a prayer partner in social services, or if you have a chaplain. And then the ones that are under local officers are people who actually serve on the core council. So we've done it this way to help you know if this person is a core council member or not. And then media arts, and then at the bottom we have the music and gospel arts. Many people do not know that band members, if you have a core band, and songster members, if you have a core songster brigade, are local officers and should be designated as such. And so all these things are already templated for you, and you don't have to create them. And then if you would click into one, I'll just show you one so you can see it. If you would use this template, it actually has a job description as part of it. So it tells what this person does at the core. So this is what the women's ministries, I think chaplains' responsibilities are. So we've made that easier. We are working on templates for every position at a core, and I am working with a committee of core officers who's helping do that. So if you have questions about a job position that a volunteer might hold and you don't see a template, just let me know, and I'll work with you to create one. Any other questions?
All right, well, I've done one more and then we're done, I promise. When a volunteer signs up, do we get an email that they've signed up?
When a volunteer signs up, do they get an email?
Actually, no, you do not get an email. The only way that you know a volunteer signs up is here where in this applicant.
So we would have to check it like daily.
I will look and see if there's a way to create a volunteer to you, because there may be, to a designated administrator of your core, because some core have multiple administrators. And so if you have 3 or 4 administrators, you probably don't want everybody to get that email.
Right.
But a designated person. So let me see if I can do that. Who's asking the question so I can get back to you about that?
That's Watertown.
Watertown, okay. I'll be talking to you guys a lot.
It's okay.
It's all right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Other questions before we leave you here? I'll talk to you separately because yours is different.
Okay.
Because it's, Lieutenant Zumwalt, it may be possible in the enterprise settings for us to set that up, which is what I'm looking at right now, that it sends back a link to somebody, which means I would have to do that for the whole division. And it may be in the security, but I'll have to look at that because no one's ever asked that question before.
Thank you.
Is that it?
think that's it. Well, thank you all for coming and being a part of this. And if you have specific questions, you can contact me directly, and I will work with you to set it up for your specific location.
Thank you all for attending. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Ramona.